What's good? We're back again as the podcast PMB, and today we are joined by the very sensational Nozipho Tshabalala.
Ngiyapila. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be home, and thank you for inviting me onto the podcast.
Siyabonga nathi just giving us the little time that you have. So I won't waste any time. I'll just go straight to it. How does it feel being home?
You know, there's nothing better than being home. I do a lot of work out in the world. I travel a lot. I was just saying to someone, I just landed from the US on Sunday. But for me to be able to come home and share this work that I have put together with the very people that raised me, that shaped me, that influenced me, and to do it in the place that gave me life is incredibly special for me. I come to Maritzburg quite often because my family is still here, but to be able to share this work is probably the most important thing for me.
And being here at GHS, what made you bring it here, the actual launch?
I think it was an easy decision for me. I have had a national tour around the country. Yes. We've been in Joburg, we've been to Cape Town, we've been to Durban. Last week we were in the United States, in Washington, D.C. Yes. But if you read the book, the core and the anchor of this book is here in Maritzburg, but also a very big part of who I've become in my adult years has been shaped by my experiences here at JHS. So this for me feels like a natural home, a natural extension for me to be here at JHS. This place was home for me for more than 5 years.
Yes. So have you met any of your teachers that taught you that are still here?
Yes, actually my English teacher just walked past just now. So Ms. Fala, who actually taught me English, but also was my sports coach, who really helped me think about how I show up in the context of other people. Yes. In sporting teams, in netball and basketball is here. I just saw Ms. Stubbings as well. One of my other English teachers emailed me to say that she can't wait to come tonight. Yes. So I anticipate that I'm going to be in conversation with some of my teachers, but also some of the old girls, the people I walk these corridors with. Some of them will be here. I'm being moderated by an old girl who was younger than me in school, and who I've had the pleasure of influencing and mentoring and being a big sister to in different ways. So it feels really special that all of these, and that's Annele Ndlovu, that I used to call her my baby at school, and she still is my baby.
Oh, that's wonderful. So bringing the book here at home and being with all the people that you grew up with and trying to get the book out there. How's the feeling or the receiving of the book with the people in Abalai Maritzburg?
So the book has been received phenomenally all over the country, but there's something that's been super special about how it's been received la ekaya, because again it's more than just sharing a book as an author. It's going back and saying, this is what you produced, all the gifts you put into me, all the resources, all the time and the energy, right? And so that makes it super special as well.
In the book you mentioned that you had a double life. That's how I'm just paraphrasing.
Yes.
You had like a double life.
You make me sound like a spy.
Oh man. And there is Nozipho and then there is Bridget.
Yes.
Does Bridget still exist?
Before I answer,
Thank you.
I'm sure we're going to be able to cut neatly. Thank you. Yeah. So, does Bridget still exist? I think we never really lose our names. And without giving away too much, I was born at a time in the country where, as a black person, you needed to have a white name to enter the school system, right? So, I was born Nozipho. Bridget was my second name. But a couple of things happen. One of those things is that I'm born at a time of extreme violence in Pietermaritzburg, when the ANC and the IFP and the UDM are in a violent clash. And part of that then forces my parents to temporarily give me away,
Yes.
so as to save my life. And in saving my life, to pass me off as colored,
Yes.
they actually then brought forward my middle name, and then I was known as Bridget and not Nozipho.
Okay.
And so I entered the school system as Bridget
Yes.
rather than Nozipho. As a result of being in the school system as Bridget, I then carried that name all the way through to matric. And it speaks not just to like a change in names, but it speaks to a duality of identity that I had to live with.
Yes.
I was a black child who was raised in a colored township,
Yes.
but going into spaces and schools that had been previously reserved for white people only. And so you can imagine having to learn to be black at home, to be colored in the streets, and to be white at school.
Yes.
And the name, I think, just becomes a proxy for that particular experience.
Yes, yes. And how was it like the period where you were with the Andersons?
You know, I wish I could say, oh, it was brilliant. I was a child. I had no really
I
deep
saw in the
conscious.
book that you were like a child. How old were you?
I think I was about five, going on 6 at that time. But what I do know is I have flashes of memory. I remember that Fridays was for hot dogs. I remember that even while I was hiding in plain sight at the Andersons, passing off as colored when I was actually black, my parents had the opportunity to come and visit us, come and see me in the evenings.
In the evening,
We actually went back to the Andersons today, which was really special. And then they would disappear again when the sun came out. You know, I think I have a greater appreciation and a consciousness about that time now in my adult years, because I can't imagine the risk that they were taking on as a family by bringing me on board and looking after me as if I was one of their own. So that for me, I can't tell you what it felt like at the time because I don't remember, but I'm so grateful that that's where I landed.
I wanna still go on. There's a part where you talk about the Anderson. It was a daycare.
Yes, it was a crash.
Yes,
Yeah.
and there's a moment where all the kids would wait by the gates with their
To
dads,
leave, yeah.
yes, along with you. How did it feel like when everyone was gone and no one came? Did you understand what was going on?
I didn't understand, but also remember I knew a little secret that after everybody is gone, my parents would come.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, when the sun begins to set, because, so my dad was reminding me today that I didn't know this. He says to me that they didn't, for the arrangement for them to come at night was brokered by me.
Oh.
I actually spoke to the Andersons and said, you know, this is my parents, I'd love to see them. And my father was like, that's how they said, oh, you guys can come at night. And then during the day, they were still in hiding in the car, having run away from Emakong. But I would imagine as a child that I might have wanted to go with my friends. I might have wanted to get into the taxi yabo malume with everybody else. But I also had a little secret. I knew that my parents would come and that I'm not allowed to say, but at least I knew they were coming.
That's great. You talk about your mother as someone who's really strong, and I like how she went back at the age of 45 to school.
48, yeah.
Oh, 48, yes. How she went back to school. Looking at her and her doing that at that time, what strength did that give you?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question.
Today.
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. I think one of the greatest gifts that my mom gave me was knowing that there's no such thing as too late.
Yes.
Too late doesn't exist in my vocabulary. And watching her reclaim her life and who she felt that she was destined to be, and to do that at the age of 48 was incredibly inspiring and empowering for me. I think the other gift that both my parents gave me was the gift of resourcefulness and just being innovative, of being able to think outside the box, to look for solutions outside of what you have and what's within reach for you. But I also think maybe the final gift that I can highlight is that my parents gave me self-belief. I was raised in a family that reinforced consistently that I was smart, that I was capable, that I had agency, that I could effect things into being. Like if I did something could come out of it. And so they gave me a creator's mind and unleashed my creativity, but also just my very critical thinking. Yeah.
That's beautiful. You describe a graduation photo crocodile smiles.
Yes.
What was that about?
So my mom was graduating from university at the age of 53, and I had flown from, I was actually in Cape Town on that day. I had flown from Cape Town to go to Durban to go and attend her graduation alongside my dad. And there's this picture of the three of us, my mother in the middle and me and my dad on either side with like these big smiles.
Yes.
I was telling a friend of mine when we were looking at that picture, I'm saying I knew I was smiling for my mom because I was so happy and I was so proud of her, but it was also the day I knew that I'd fallen in love with my husband. That's a long story, but it was actually on that day that I knew that this was the man that I wanted to marry.
Okay. You also touch on what's it? Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
What's it like after all this achievement? Do you still have that imposter syndrome?
So I feel like I'm when people talk about being a recovered addict, I think I'm a recovered imposter syndrome. And let me tell you why. About 2 or 3 years ago, I watched a YouTube video of a woman called Reshma Sojourn.
Okay.
She was giving a talk at Smith College, which is an all-girls university in the US. And she was saying in that talk that she never ever wants to talk about imposter syndrome again.
Yes.
And the reason why is that she says, well, if you trace back when imposter syndrome kind of entered the narrative and the lexicon, it's at the time that women are beginning to break barriers in corporate America.
Yes.
Women are beginning to become more than secretaries and more than PAs and more than administrators. And then suddenly there's this idea that, oh, maybe women suffer from imposter syndrome. I also think the pathologizing of it is important.
Yes.
Why do you call it a syndrome? Why don't you call it a virus? Because if it's a virus, we all get a vaccine, everybody's cured. But you can't cure a syndrome. It's like when a child is born with Down syndrome. You can't cure a syndrome. So it becomes this idea that you've got this lifelong struggle ahead of you. For as long as you're making progress and for as long as you're moving forward, you're going to have this lifelong struggle of having this syndrome. And so she basically says that she doesn't actually want to be engaged with this idea of women suffering from imposter syndrome, because actually a little bit of a shake in self-belief, a little bit of not feeling confident is absolutely normal for every single human being, irrespective of whether that human being is a man or a woman. So that's the school that I sign up to now. I don't suffer from imposter syndrome. I'm a human being who, when they begin to do increasingly bigger things and increasingly important things, might have a little bit of a shake in confidence, might feel that maybe the opportunity is too big for her, but that doesn't mean that I'm struggling with the syndrome.
That's very beautiful. In your story, it has so many themes. It has identity, womanhood, family, and legacy.
Yeah.
But there's a period in your life that I want to find out how was it like for you going through the IVF process?
I think it's probably been the singular most difficult thing that my husband and I have gone through together, because I always say to people, and they say, oh, so now that you've written the book about control, have you figured out how to not be in control? And say, well, it actually doesn't work like that. Control is not this linear line where one day you're in control and the next day you give up all control. It's a lot more multifaceted and contextual. There are still moments when being in control is important, and there's still moments when being in control is not the thing that serves you. And I think what life does is that it gives you these little reminders, and to raise your consciousness about it. And I think I'm in a season right now where I'm learning that surrender in this particular aspect of my life is not a loss of control. It is actually listening to my body, listening to God, to have His will be done in my life. And so, is it difficult? Yes. But I think I've got a higher consciousness about how I'm showing up and how much control I think I have, and how much control I've been forced to admit I don't have.
I'll say this, as men, I don't know how to put it, but as men, we are sometimes scared of other things. How did your husband take the process, the IVF?
So I think
besides being supportive.
I think it's a great question as well. I think it was difficult for him in a different way to which it was difficult for me. I think for me it was difficult emotionally and physically, right? Because I had to go through the physical, the injections, the bloating, the feeling sick, and all of those things. I think it was difficult because of a certain degree of helplessness that he felt, that he couldn't help me. He couldn't take the injections for me. He couldn't take the pain away from me, other than just to journey with me. I think he might have struggled with a little bit of like just the mood swings that comes with being a woman on IVF, and he had to, I was up and then I was down, and I was up and then I was down, and he had to ride those waves with me, up and holding my hand through it, and just consistently showing up as a consistent force of love. I can't imagine that can be easy. I don't even like myself sometimes when I'm being super moody. So I can't imagine what it might have felt like for him.
In the memoir, you share a lot of yourself. As the book is out now, what do you hope the readers are going to take from your book?
I do share a lot of myself, and I think there's two questions in there. One, I want to talk about why I share a lot about myself, and then what I want people to take out. I didn't want to write a book. I didn't want to write a book. It wasn't on my to-do list. It wasn't on my vision board. It wasn't on my goals. It just was not part of what I wanted to do. But I think I came to a realization that I owed it to myself more than anything else to bring to the surface my biggest struggle and to use my life as a narrative device to be able to share that story. And I'm very happy to talk about why I didn't want to write a book. But I think to your second part of the question about, well, what do I want people to take away? This book for me is about my own personal confrontation with control. What I want people to take away is an opportunity to introspect and reflect on their own personal confrontations. And for others it might be control. And for us to be able to have an honest conversation about when is being in control important, and when is being on control the worst thing you can do for yourself, and how do you get better at reading the moment, to be able to understand that this is a moment that demands control, and this is a moment where I need to put control down. And while the struggle for me might have been about control, for somebody else it could be something else. Could be perfectionism. It could be being the life of the party. It could be a range of different things that serve us and help us progress in life, could actually also become the very things that hold us back.
Maybe it's a question that I just thought of now. What inspired the title of the book?
So After the Fires is actually a reference to my earliest childhood memory, which is of fleeing a petrol bomb in Maqongo with my parents. And so I talk about how surviving that fire has actually given me the life that I have now. That was my first survival. And so the life I have is a life that's come after the fires. And that's where the title comes from. So it's not just a poetic play on words. It's a physical remembrance of something that happened to me. And then the end of the title, of course, is unlocking the power of letting go. And that's the invitation I want to give to the reader, to say that maybe if we think about the struggles we go through life as having to walk through certain fires, there is a life after the fires. And I use the word after intentionally. The book could have been called In the Fire.
In the Fire, yeah.
It could have been called
In the Heat.
anything, right? But it's after the fires, because I want to give the hope that on the other side of struggle is a rebirth, is a renewal, and a possible transformation.
That's great. As someone who's navigated media, business, and now authorship, how do you describe power and purpose today?
Sure, it's a brilliant question. And I suppose I haven't thought about power and purpose together, but I'll give you how I react or engage with those two concepts separately, and let's see if we find a way of finding each other. I think purpose for me is an inside job, and what I mean by that is that I hear a lot of people talking about finding their purpose, and I always go, but finding it where? It's not outside of you.
Not out there.
Purpose is within you. It's the thing that you were born with before the degrees, before the skills, before the training, before anything. The thing that you are meant to do in the world. And I take a lot of inspiration from the work of Victoria Safford, where she talks about standing at the gates where your history meets your hope. And she talks about that being a place where you find your purpose, where you are doing only the work that is intended for you, the work that you were born to do. And I think that's what purpose is. It's finding that thing that you have been specifically configured for. And I know that purpose is not a profession. I know that a profession is an arena in which you pursue a purpose, or you live out and express a purpose. So my purpose is not my job. My purpose is who I am. And then to the question of power, I think for me, power is really, I'm at a stage in my life where I realize that I have a lot of power because of the spaces that I move in, the kind of people that are within my network, the kind of influence that I have in spaces. And I think with that realization comes a great responsibility about how I use my power, and whether that power can be shared with others, so that the intensity of my power can be hot-spotted, for other people, if that makes sense. Exactly.
Okay, and now that After the Fires is out to the world,
yes,
congratulations. Congratulations. What is next for music?
Not another book, not yet. Because everybody's like, oh, Nozi, you left us hanging on the last chapter. Like, are you going to write another one? Not yet.
But it might happen, because this one was unintentional.
Yeah, let me not rule it out. Let me not try to be in control.
Yes.
What's next right now is I'm going back to school. I'm going to do my doctorate as of next year. I'm starting my doctorate. I want to be more present as a mother. I want to spend a little bit more time with my son, and a little bit more time just supporting my husband. The poor guy has been hotspotting me with support for quite a while now. But I know myself. I love working. I love producing. I love creating in the world. And so I'm not sure how I'm going to do all of that while working, because I can't see myself stopping working. I love my job. I love the impact that my job has in the world. And I think I'm going to continue to do that for a while.
Okay. Just before we close, I've got two questions.
Sure.
Because I was looking at your Instagram.
Yes.
Bill Gates.
Oh, yes.
How did that happen?
So, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that I moderated Melinda Gates first. So I've done I've done them both.
That's his ex-wife.
That's his ex-wife, who's now Melinda French Gates. Okay. The Gates Foundation is my client, so that's the sort of functional answer to it. But I think it's just a reflection of the work that I do. I help world leaders, typically presidents, ministers, and executives, to have more impactful and consequential conversations in the world. And it was my pleasure to be able to moderate Bill Gates and to help him land his message around why they are closing the Gates Foundation and what that means for Africa. Yeah, in 20 years. They're slowly closing, winding it down over 20 years, yeah.
Oh, okay. And then the next one is the president.
Yes.
Did you work with him, or did you work in his office?
So I worked for the deputy president, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. So this was before President Ramaphosa. So I worked in the presidency for 3 years in the office of the deputy president. However, I do the presidency in South Africa is one of my clients. So I do work for the president from time to time, especially around the investment conference in the country. I am doing some pieces of work around the G20 in South Africa, and of course that's going to be in honor of my country. But he is one of many presidents that I work with.
Your story is so beautiful. And Nozipho, we thank you so much for trusting us with your story in Maritzburg. So as face because you got a very busy day. So and hopefully you could come and sit down with us as a podcast PMB.
Thank you, podcast PMB. Thank you for holding my story with love and care. Thank you for welcoming me back home. Thank you for making the time just to honor one of your own and to raise up one of your own and to give visibility to one of your own. While one moves through the world expecting that the work that they do is going to have a positive impact, nothing actually matters more than how the people at home receive it. And it's been beautifully received. The last 48 hours is probably, I still don't quite have the words for how it's been received here, and I couldn't be more grateful.
And for you guys at home, thank you for watching, and we love this podcast, the podcast PMB. So please subscribe to it, like and comment, and peace out.
Peace out. Thank you.
Thanks.